Oh, oh, sorry. Good morning and welcome to the Investment and Strategy Services Committee. I am the Chair, Grant Berg, along with Councillors O'Connor, Councillor Bressie, and Mayor Clayton. Can I get somebody to adopt the agenda, please? Councillor O'Connor. All right, I call the question.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
And that carries unanimously. So first up, we have a delegation from the Grande Prairie Curling Center. If you folks wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, and again, we'll give you about 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Good morning, Mayor Clayton and councillors. My name is Ray Sylvester. I'm the president of the curling rink. And I have on my left, I have Rihanna Helmrich. She's one of the board members. And on my right, I have Colin Griffin. And he's our operations manager. No, executive director, and he'll do all the talking for the presentation. So on that, Colin, it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here in front of the Investment Committee again. So what is being proposed by the Curling Center is to deal with a project to deal with the appearance and of the is that better? Have to stay close, okay. Of the facility. And so some of the stuff is just background, and I don't know who's controlling the PowerPoint, but we can flip through it very quickly. Just to start with, though, is to create a little bit of an environmental overview of what the situation is. The city has developed one of Alberta's premier curling facilities. They've invested $2.6 million into the facility over the last 15 years. We've got new ice plants, new concrete floors, lighting header trenches, complete renovations of the whole facility. And it has an estimated cost of $13 to $15 million, and by the city's own projection, a lifespan of at least part of the facility for about 40 years. So how is the club honored and cared for the city investment? Well, there's been a determined effort to grow the sport, and we're now above the 2005 levels. We offer the community an excellent banquet, meeting room, and games room, and hospitality services that are used by a lot of the businesses and organizations in the community. We've hosted 7 provincial championships over the last 4 years, including co-hosting the Pinty's Grand Slam event, which was the largest world-class curling event ever held. It had 64 of the world's top teams. We host Curling Alberta qualifiers, which is very important to the Peace Country overall, because that gives local teams in the Peace Country the opportunity to qualify for provincial championships here in the Peace Country. And so we make a special effort to always offer to host those on behalf of Curling Alberta. Last year, we put an emphasis on stick curling because it is a growing part of the sport, and it extends curling life, if you like, and an enjoyment for a lot of the senior people or people that have any kind of a restriction in terms of their physical capacity. And certainly, continuing along that line, this year we are hosting for the second time the Alberta Masters Provincial Championship for men and women, and as well the Canadian Master Men's and Women's Championship in April. So the club has been very, very busy and made a major focus, on hosting all of these major events for the benefit of the curling community, but also for the community at large. And in doing that, the club and many of our curlers have received a lot of provincial recognition. And that is also very beneficial to the city in the sense that, as you can see by the next slide, we are recognized by Curling Alberta and by the curling community across the province as one of the foremost host communities in Alberta. So that's of some significance, but I think basically it's giving an account, if you like, of how we've used the facility and all of the investment that the city has put into it. We also want to make sure that there is recognition, if you like, of the capacity that the curling club has in terms of providing financial assistance to major capital projects that the city wants to undertake at the facility. As an example, there's a new provincial program, and the province has a whole host of programs to support communities, right? But the access is given only to the curling club, not to the city, right? And in order for that to happen, there has to be a lot of pre-planning done by the city if we're going to be able to apply for the level of support that's available. Now, there's no guarantee, we realize, that these grants are going to be received, but the programs are out there, and we just want to make sure that the city is fully aware that we're on record as always being available and willing to assist in any way we can. But the prerequisite is that the city has to do the planning in advance in order to take advantage of these grant opportunities. So we're just going to switch over. We were aware that last year in the city budget there was an entry for $793,000 to retrofit the curling facility to reduce energy consumption. And in that vein, in May, the curling club and the board adopted a resolution stating they were eligible and prepared to apply for 50% of that project cost to the province's Active Communities Initiative program. And we submitted that proposal to the administration of the city, and they came back on September 10th and said that the city administration had not submitted a capital request for the budget deliberations for this year and the next 4 years, or for the coming years. The curling club respects that decision not to proceed with the project due to budget challenges. That's certainly understandable in the environment in which the city has to operate today, facing all of the demands from all of the groups in the city. But the neglected part of that whole thing is that the retrofitting for energy consumption was also going to be the way that the building's appearance was updated. And so that's what this proposal is to say, okay, fine, let's just accept the realities, right? But we think there's an opportunity to go ahead and deal with the appearance of the facility. The building naming rights and the building identity would be addressed. So very quickly, that's the existing building and the parking lot, and the challenges that we think it has, and the opportunity, I think, for this facility to be upgraded in its appearance at a very reasonable cost, so that it's something that everyone in the community can take pride in. It would give the building an identity which it really doesn't have now. There's a tremendous amount of traffic goes by, and that is the first city facility that you see, or 14,000 vehicles a day see when they're driving into the city. So in terms of that, what we're proposing is that there be a facelift project, okay, understanding that this has to be driven by the city. And we certainly would like to participate in that process and have an active role as a partner in the project, so that we can assist in any way that we can. In that regard, the proposal for funding is basically laid out on the next sheet, and there is in place already $230,000, half of which was generated by the curling club through a grant provided by the curling, or by curling Alberta, by the Alberta government, excuse me. I've got a bad cold and I'm foggy as hell today.
So, Cola, just for the sake of time,
yes.
I'm just looking at your sheet here. Can you just let us know what the ask is? I know that there's the bins, signage, exterior renovations.
Well, it has to be a city project. We're fully aware of that, right? What we're basically showing is that the curling club has already come up with $115,000 to do the project and utilize and address the issue with the unsightly garbage bins and the landscaping that's missing in the front of the building. We estimate and have got quotes, if you like, from reputable local contractors that would require something in the neighborhood of a little over $300,000. There's already $230,000 in place, so there would be $90,000 required to pull it together. And the curling center has in its lease the naming rights, which the city put into the lease, a value of $45,000 a year. And the curling club and the board is willing to have that money for the first year used to fund half of that shortfall. Right? So that's basically what the proposal is.
Okay.
The city would have to come up with the balance. And just in case there's a question about what mullock bins are, we've attached the picture. We think that that is what the private sector is doing in the community to deal with the appearances and a lot of the problems with building enclosures for solid waste facilities. And we think that would be a wonderful addition to this project.
Okay.
Am I out of time?
Yeah, we're just going to go to questions at this point
Okay,
from
that's fine, then.
committee. So,
You bet.
any questions, Councillor O'Connor?
Thank you, Colin and Ray, and sorry I missed your name. Rihanna. Thanks for coming in. I don't know what the budget process is going to look like coming up. We have a very tight budget coming up, but I think we could consider that if it's submitted, but there's no guarantees. So, and you're asking for $45,000 is the difference?
Well, we're just suggesting that you might be able to find that so the project could go ahead in the way it's proposed.
And who's going to do the ask for naming rights? Like, is that a city function? Is that your function? Whose function?
Well, we were given that authority, if you like, or that funding source in the lease agreement, right? But what we would like to propose is that as part of this overall project, that the city would undertake the same level of support they're giving to the soccer club in naming the new field, where the city is out doing the naming rights proposal for that in cooperation with the soccer club. And we would like to think we fit into that same process, if you like, because we have a skeleton staff, and I'm not going to belabor any of that, but we need help in that regard to deal with some of those complex issues.
Okay. Councillor Bressy, anything?
Thank you. I don't have questions on delegation. Do you have some for administration I'd like to ask when
Sure, okay.
you see the time is appropriate?
Okay, thanks. So, Colin, I've got a handful of questions. So you're asking for $45,000. So the other $45,000 would be funded through the naming rights. Do you have anybody on the line that you know would step up, or a high probability that would step up?
Well, that's going to the market, if you like, but I think that given the current appearance of the facility, you'd be hard-pressed to find a major company that would want to necessarily put their name on that facility, so it has to be part of the upgrading process.
Okay. And should we approve $45,000 at budget and we don't sell the naming rights, how do you come up with the other 45?
We are basically offering that, right? And because the city established that number, right, we have great faith in the city.
Okay. So then a few other questions. Around the dumpsters, that's one of the things that I wrestle with. These mullock bins, they look amazing, but have we explored maybe moving them back further in the parking lot, or even building a screen? Because they do look awful. I will fully concede that. But they're right on a major thoroughfare in the city, so I see you've got a container. If we were to put them behind the container somewhere, or, again, create a screen, has that been explored?
That is certainly being explored by the engineering staff that are attempting to get this project ready to go to tender. And the initial problem is that when the budget was done for this project by the city, this parking lot is not part of our lease. That's totally a city project, totally. It's not in our lease. It's totally the city project, and it fits into the arrangement or the understanding since 2010 that the city was responsible for the capital upgrading of the facility. So that is there. But in terms of those bins, after we applied for using the city estimate, we applied for the government grant. We got it. We then went and asked, well, what's going to happen with those garbage bins? And we were told that they weren't included in the estimate. And so the city provided us with an estimate of $29,000 to properly put some foundation under those garbage bins and so on, and asked us to pay for it. Well, if that would have been included in the original budget, right, we would have got 50% of the funding from the government. So we were precluded from doing that.
Okay.
Okay. So right now you've got, there was nothing put into that original budget by the city for the landscaping or for dealing with those bins, right?
Yeah.
So they came back to us for the funding, but like I said, we couldn't do anything further because we do not have, any funding for capital. We struggle to keep the whole thing going with a relatively limited staffing.
Okay, yeah, and that's fair. So if you were to prioritize these three items, upgrading the exterior, the building signage, or mullock bins, how would you place them 1, 2, and 3? Because if we send this to budget, I don't necessarily want an all or nothing package. So what would your priorities be in order?
The priority would be let's face reality and fix up the whole building and make it look like it's one of the valued city facilities.
So the exterior then?
I think it all goes together. I mean, it's basically let's deal with, we think, and we're very supportive of just dealing with the whole issue, and we're doing everything we can to help the city in doing it. It's a city project, it's not ours.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor Clayton?
Thanks, Chair Berg. Just following on some of Councillor Berg's comments. So without the revenue from the naming rights, you don't have revenue to contribute to the exterior, the building signage, or the mullock bins, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so the cost estimates on the building signage are relatively recent?
They are, yeah.
Okay. And so to Councillor Berg's comments, if council were to approve upgrading the exterior, the mullock bins, and landscaping at $60,000, does the curling club have the means to raise the other 30 without the revenue from the signage?
We have no capacity at all, and that is, I think, certainly we have made many representations to the city administration. We filed our financial statements. We have a very, very limited revenue generation capacity, and much of the profits we make off of hosting major events goes directly back into the operational budget. We have no surplus funds and no capacity to do these things. And since 2010, the agreement with the city was that the city was responsible for capital. This isn't our project. This is a city project. We're here trying to help and trying to put the city's best interests forward. We've done everything we can to enhance not only the sport of curling, but also the reputation of the city. But at some point, there's got to be an understanding that we simply do not have capital funds and never have had them for the past 15 years.
Okay.
Thank you for being here. I also wanted to say thank you for the work that your club does in supporting the sport of curling. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll have administration questions in a little bit. So you're good. Yep.
We're dismissed.
You're dismissed.
We may leave.
And thank you for your presentation. And thank you for the work that you do. It is an excellent facility. Councillor Bressie?
Great, thank you. I don't want to ask for the actual number in a public venue, but wondering if administration has done an estimate of what we'd be likely to obtain in naming rights on this building. If so, if council could get that in an appropriate venue.
Say Burke?
Yeah.
You didn't say who the question was to.
Yeah, I don't know who it was for.
I saw Shane nodding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's been discussed here already. That is a approximate number that has been discussed, city administration.
Okay. So yeah, I just hope if we do progress this over that we get that in a, again, I don't want to publicly say what we're expecting. But also in terms of the energy upgrades, a worry that I've got is if we do fund this, my assumption, so I'd love to know if the assumption is correct or not, is that if we do this and then we decide 5 years down the line to do those energy upgrades, that a lot of the work done now would have been a throwaway cost. Would that be a correct assumption? I don't know who.
I would probably get maybe if there's a more precise answer, but maybe just a little bit more background on some of the work that's been occurring. There was a previous request from the Curling Club, so something has been referred to budget. That was the $1 million project that was discussed. That has been referred. It is unfunded, but it has been referred to budget. I would say that. As discussed, we've put millions of dollars into this facility to ensure that it was a safe, functioning facility. The requests to date are, I will say, are for some nice to haves, which will admittedly be from administration a tough recommendation to make in a challenging fiscal year. I would, though, maybe Ms. Bieberdorf could just update on some of the projects that are in the works that are progressing, including the paving project that's going forward.
Ms. Bieberdorf?
Thank you, Chair Berg. Yes, the parking lot has gone through the design phase already and will be going out to tender for construction shortly. One of the items that was discussed was the Moloch bins. We have included them as a provisional item, so if the existing budget allows, we will certainly include the Moloch bins and the landscaping within existing approved budget. If not, then that's where the $30,000 came in that they had requested. And then as far as the building signage, that would be something we could reuse if we were redoing the exterior by chance. We could take the sign down and put it back up. I would say the exterior painting would be the only one that would be a throwaway cost.
Thank you.
Okay. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Berg. I guess a question for Chief Glavin. In regards to facility renewal, can you tell me, is there a timing that the building would be painted, facade improvement, etc., on a regular facility renewal timing schedule?
Chief Glavin.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. I don't believe there's anything in the hopper right now for any work to be done on the exterior, although the building envelope, when it was looked at as a project, came in, I think, close to $1 million, as we referred, but the payback is 108 years on that, so we do not see it as a fiscally prudent upgrade at this point, as it doesn't have a payback.
Can I?
Yeah, Mayor Clayton.
Chief Glavin, on another vein of yours, tell me what in traditional landscaping initiatives that we do each year, when would the Curling Club get some attention? Based on the pictures that were shown, and I don't know how accurate or recent they are, there appears to be a couple trees missing, etc. Would there be, through the traditional beautification that we do annually, an opportunity to enhance some of the facade through budgeted landscaping as opposed to additional landscaping?
Chief Glavin.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Berg. With regard to the trees, we could fit that into our tree replacement program and just have those added to the list and get those done in the new year. Regarding additional, I'm sure that's something, if it were a very minor improvement, we could just use as part of our existing funding.
Great, thank you. Oh, I have one more.
Go ahead.
I gotta think who it's for. Maybe Ms. Bieberdorf, and if it's not you, let me know. Just correct me if I'm wrong. The other facilities that the city owns, we don't have arrangements with user groups per se that share revenue on signage. Is that correct?
Ms. Bieberdorf.
Thank you, Chair Berg. It depends when the agreement was done and what the terms were at the time, but in general, we don't have revenue sharing.
So the reference to the soccer facility, that's not quite accurate, is it?
So we did work with the soccer organization to put out the naming rights, but it's just a process that we're following through what's existing within the city, following our policy to support.
To date, there's been no identified revenue from that signage to go to the soccer association.
Not right now, because we haven't received any bids for naming rights for that facility, but there is potential that they would get some of the revenue.
Yeah, cool.
So it's not quite what I'm looking for. Is, to my knowledge, council hasn't discussed that. So is that administration's intent to be giving some of the revenue from the signage of the soccer facility to the soccer association?
Thank you, Chair Berg. I'd have to double check the lease agreement on that one, but there is a clause in there about naming rights specifically, so I'll have to get back to you on
Okay,
it.
thank you.
All right, I'll go to Councillor Bressy, but Councillor O'Connor was next in queue.
Yeah, thank you very much. My concern compared to all the other city-run facilities, this facility seems to be underfunded, and they have no money, and yet it's one of the stars in our community and attracting national events and the Scotties and various events. And I think it behooves us to be able to invest in what the building looks like. And I think if we're pinching pennies on this when it comes to reputation, and we have the film crews that always follow the Scotties come here, I don't think it bodes well for the city. And so I'm really concerned that we're not taking the time to invest in what makes our city proud. And I'm sorry, this is just me. I'm just wondering, why are we expecting them to come up with capital when they never had in the past?
Sorry, Councillor Bressy, I think Mayor Clayton has a response to this.
I'm right now is questions for administration and for council. There's no business on the floor. Happy to debate and discuss the comments of Councillor O'Connor when we have debate on the floor. But right now, there's no direction been provided.
Thank you. Councillor Bressy.
Great, thank you. Just in terms of, so the Mullocks are an add-on to the paving budget if there's room in that. When do we expect that tender to be completed so we'll know if those are going to get completed or not?
Ms. Bieberdorf?
Thank you, Chair Berg. It hasn't even gone out yet, so it's going to be probably, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks, probably after Christmas before we know, but they wouldn't be able to start construction until spring anyways, so we do have a little bit of time.
Right, but so we won't know that before budget is?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, in regards to the bins, if you saw in the one photo, is that garbage trucks, when they come in, there is a lot of pressure, and it doesn't matter if you just put asphalt in there, that is going to punch out. And I think there needs to be, if you're not going to go to the Mullocks, then you have to add more money into the budget to support the ground as the trucks come in. And that's a standard practice in the construction when it comes to regular bins. So I think the Mullocks are less invasive, and it would be less cost if you invested in that instead of a solid concrete pad to prevent punching out.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from committee? Councillor Bressy.
I'm prepared to do some business if.
Yep, go ahead.
Chair permit. I would move that the council refer painting, building signage, and mullet containers to budget deliberations, with the city financing the entire cost and not sharing naming rights revenue. And just to speak to that, for me, it doesn't really make sense to do a 50-50 cost share when it's based on revenue that's maybe coming in. I think the reality of this is really we are talking about, is the city funding this or not? And I don't really want to deal with if their whole contribution is 50% of the naming rights. Well, let's just keep the naming rights. And I'd love to be able to have a less complicated conversation about what can we expect to get in naming rights, both in terms of cash, but also contributions towards signage, because often when you're sponsoring a building, you do help with that signage as well. And so I'd like to have that debate at budget deliberations. For me, in terms of knowing if support or not, it honestly is something that I still do need to do a little bit of thought on. I really do agree with a lot of what Councillor O'Connor said. At the same time, we've got the volleyball club that's 50% financing an improvement in a city park. I'm personally in the middle of fundraising a bunch of money to do basically 100% of capital improvements on disc golf courses. And that's a pretty normal thing in the community for groups to fundraise their own capital funding. So don't know if but this is a different building because it is right at the heart of downtown, where we have spent a lot of money and we're trying to get economic development going. So it is different than other sport courses too. So it is something that I still need to put some thought into, but I definitely think this is worthy of being in budget deliberations and me being able to consider in the context of all of the hard decisions we need to make, not just this one off. So I hope the committee will support us debating this at budget.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Clayton.
Yeah, I'm happy to support to send this to budget for deliberation and discussion. I did have a question, though, in regards to your comment about changing the lease per se, and I guess probably the CAO can answer best. What does that look like if council approves the request based on the lease being changed? How does that look?
I'd have to look at the specifics, but typically in our leases, we do have termination clauses, and not as aggressive as that. But I would say that if council and the city were looking at funding the entirety of a project, I would say that the curling club would likely be inclined to just support that change to their lease. So it would be a negotiated change here at this stage.
And do we have, sorry, Councillor Brooke, thanks so much. Have we had any of those conversations? It seems a little chicken and the egg. If council approves the funding, now you would have to change the lease. I don't know if that's appropriate.
Councillor Bressy?
Sorry, I might have missed the details, so my apologies if I did. Is the fact that we fund 50%, is that actually in the lease, or is that just our policy that
It's in the lease.
policy?
No,
Sorry, Chief.
Thanks, Chair Burke. I think the reference that I was making was to the lease having some provisions for them to have some of the revenue from the naming rights.
Right.
That would be something changed. They would have to, and I think that would be an agreeable change. Like I don't think that would be an impediment to advancing a project if the project was advancing. I think the curling club would be inclined to support that.
Yeah, so that maybe maybe what I'll do then is open to wordsmithing this. Happy to strike that with city funding the entire cost, not sharing naming revenue, and leave that to administration to discuss. What would they prefer? Get to council.
Or Councillor Bressy, one of the point of clarity too is he was saying it was $45,000 per year, and so if we take all of the naming rights, that could be over 3 years, roughly $150,000. So, to me, that might be where the wordsmithing is the first $45,000 from naming rights. So say we get $30,000 instead of 45. Well, then that's going to take a couple years.
Yeah, again, I think this gets complicated. There's some in-camera things here that I don't know if we need to go on camera. So I'll leave it as the recording secretary is done, but just say, hey, I think there should be more conversation about realistic. What do we do about naming rights? And I defer to administration's recommendation on those.
CEO Burke? Nope, you're good. Mayor Clayton?
I'm good for now.
Okay. All right. So with that, I will call the question as it is worded.
Councillor O'Connor in favor.
And that carries unanimously.
Councillor Berg, if I could just have a...
Yes, Mayor Clayton.
A lot of naming rights and been very successful in working with our corporate community to support facilities. And it was mentioned that through some initial evaluation that the potential of $45,000 annually could be is in the ballpark for naming of that facility. Can you clarify that for me?
CEO Burke.
Say that could be a ballpark number. I would say though that the naming rights haven't been sold, and so that is not guaranteed money. We are having some success in selling naming rights to our facilities, but those do take time to find the right partner with us. And so some of our this is a facility that hasn't had naming rights to date, so I wouldn't guarantee that this could be sold in the next year or at that rate. That's just a benchmark for us to start with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Clear to move on. Reports. Service area update with Chief Bailey.
Thank you so much, Chair Berg. This service update is going to highlight 3 public engagement opportunities today. So the first, we'll start with InvestGP, which is our fiber gap analysis. So we formally launched the fiber gap analysis speed test, and that's in collaboration with the Canadian Internet Registration Authority. For those interested, you can access it at engage.cityofgp.com. And we've also shared it extensively across our social media channels and our website, and we'll continue to share reminders. So all residents and all businesses can complete their speed test, which measures internet speed and reliability at their specific location, and it takes just under a minute to do it. The point of this initiative is it will provide detailed, crowdsourced data on internet service levels across the region. Testing will remain open through September 2026, and our results will be brought back to Council to inform decisions. So the more data, the better. Secondly, I'm just going to issue a reminder that the Council's annual Interfaith Lunch is coming up, scheduled for November 25th, and that'll be 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at Teresa Sargent Hall. Ticket sales are live. They're available online and through Burnett's box office. And as a refresher for anyone listening in, this event brings residents and local faith leaders together to share in connection, dialogue, and mutual understanding. And finally, I'd like to offer a reminder that we're still recruiting for extensive boards, committees, and commission positions until November 21st. There's lots available, and we encourage all interested members of the public to consider this as a way to share your thoughts and expertise. We'll continue to share those details across all of our social media channels and websites, and there is a straightforward application process to join a pool of applicants, and each role has a basic skills match. Most of those vacancies will begin as of January 1st, 2026.
Okay, thanks, Chief Bailey. Any questions? Not seeing any. Thank you. Moving on, 4.2, grant recommendations. Chief Bailey?
Thank you so much, Chair Berg. So what we're offering today is the 2025 round of Pursuit of Excellence and Community Improvement Grants. So we've reviewed 25 applications. We're recommending supporting for 11 athletes. That includes parachair football, martial arts, judo. These athletes are representing Grande Prairie on the world stage. We're also recommending 2 community improvement projects, both small scale but high impact. And Ms. Esau is going to walk us through the specifics.
Good morning. Today's report summarizes the 2025 funding recommendations for the community from the Community Advisory Committee for the Pursuit of Excellence Scholarships and Community Improvement Grant. All applications were screened by internal staff for eligibility and completeness, as well as any relevant departments such as Parks and Environment for technical input. There are 8 applications for Pursuit of Excellence scholarships recommended for funding based on approved criteria and available funds. Athletes represent a wide range of sports, including swimming, kickboxing, Nordic skiing, judo, and power chair football. For the Community Come Fly With Me Fund, it supports athlete development through the Legacy Endowment through Northwest Alberta Foundation. $3,300 is available, with 4 recipients recommended at $825 each. Bob Neufeld Scholarship assists athletes, coaches, and officials pursuing excellence in their sport. $4,800 is available, with 4 recipients recommended at $1,200 each. Berkey McCullough International Excellence Scholarship is for local athletes with international potential. $5,000 is available, with 3 recipients recommended. It's recommended that the $5,000 overall budget be divided amongst 3 deserving athletes, rather than awarding 2 scholarships of $2,500 each. The Community Improvement Grant provides small-scale funding for neighborhood or community projects that foster civic pride and connectivity. There are 3 streams available: matching of up to $5,000, non-matching of up to $2,500, and active transportation of $2,500. Recommended projects include the Patterson Neighborhood Association's Basketball and Soccer Accessibility Project and the Highland Park Neighborhood Association's Bike Rack projects for a total allocation of $4,700. In conclusion, the recommendation is that committee recommend council approve the funding allocations as presented.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Berg. I'm just making sure it's not in the package. Can you tell me, usually in the packages we sometimes see in regards to the breakdown of sport representation, or previously we don't in the current process, but do we keep those numbers still?
Thank you, yes. Chair Berg. Yes, we do have those numbers. I can circulate it afterwards. It's just not included in the package. It does have the sport per athlete, just not a breakdown of the total Pursuit of Excellence.
Great. And remind me the amount of money that will be left in any of the Perky McCullough, Bob Neufeld, Come Fly With Me. That will finish them for the year?
Go ahead.
Thank you for the question. Yes, so that would deplete the funds. There would be 0 available.
Thank you.
All right, Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you. I'm not familiar with Keys Park Loop, but could you just give me a really high level why that one wasn't recommended?
Yep.
Thank you for the question. So the Keys Park loop wasn't recommended just due to the size of the project, and it hadn't been thoroughly reviewed by the relevant departments that needed to have input. And they're in very early stages of it, so we just want to help them through the process before we recommend any funding.
Gotcha. So it's not no, it's no for now, but we want to participate in the future.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
We'll explore through the neighborhood association and see if there's any opportunities in the future.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I just actually want to make one point. Chief Bailey had just mentioned that there's a number of committees that we're seeking people for. This is one of them, and essentially it's a group of citizens that get together and review all of these and get to make recommendations to council on money that we distribute to amazing athletes and amazing community members. So if you really like this process and are interested, this might be one committee that you'd be interested in. And so with that, I will go to Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to move that committee recommend council approve funding allocations as presented in Appendix A.
All right, call the question. And that carries unanimously. And then jumping down to item number 8, the outstanding items list. Chief Bailey.
Thank you, Chair Berg. There are no changes to the list as presented.
All right, I need a motion. Councillor Bressie.
I would move that we accept the outstanding items list.
Thank you. Call the question.
And Bressie is in favor.
And that carries unanimously. And with that, I adjourn the Investment and Strategy Committee meeting for November 4th, 2025.